It's not very often that when we at Locked On Bama are in late April and we lead off with basketball, but here we are.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, and I still don't have a voice. So Jimmy will do most of the talking, which everybody's like, yay. Okay. Jimmy, Darius Philon, who is originally from Bama.
Labaron Philon.
What did I say? Darius?
You said Darius, yeah. I think they are. I believe they are related. Actually,
they are. And here's what's funny is like I'm bragging about opening up with basketball, and I ruined it by calling him a football name. Right? I mean,
that's hilarious.
I mean, my voice is gone and my memory is gone. So
I'll do 5 minutes on Labaron Philon, and you can soothe your voice.
Well, you know, I think instead of my Prevagen, I must have taken some Viagra because I'm so hard-headed. I can't get some of this right. You get the joke? Do you see how it worked there?
Yeah,
it's not bad. I think it's a thinker. It's a thinker. Okay, so Jimmy, tell us what you think about Labaron Philon. I'll tell you what I think about him. He's awesome.
He is. I'm super excited about Labaron Philon. As we all know, I'm a homer for my locals, down in Mobile. And Labaron's been a guy I've been watching since he was a real young player. Literally remember discussing with Luke and discussing it here on the show. 3 years ago, Labaron Philon, when he was in the 9th grade at Baker, started getting SEC offers. I think Ole Miss was his first one in the 9th grade. And we've been talking about him ever since. So very high profile player. I think Luke might have even seen him in the Final Four in Birmingham, when Labaron was a younger player at Baker. Just a super, super scorer. He reminds me, this is not a good comparison, so nobody take this that I'm saying he's this guy, but he reminds me of J.D. Davison in a couple of ways. Number one, just the fact that they are both incredible scorers in high school basketball at a really young age. Their games are a little different, but to me, they're both point guards / two guards. They're really combo guards at this level. Obviously, if they ever play in the NBA, and JD's, sort of in the NBA and the G League, they'd be full-time point guards. But at the high school and college level, to me, they're both guys that can play the one or the two equally well. Again, scorer, make something happen. Very instinctive, born to play basketball, really tight with Ryan Williams. I mean, super tight. Wouldn't even surprise me, if they were roommates. I think that's a little out of the ordinary of football and basketball. These guys are besties. Weird for besties. How about this cool trivia note between the two of them? In 2022, both Labaron Philon was Mr. Basketball and Ryan Williams was Mr. Football. Same year, same school year, and they could be roommates at Alabama, which is like super cool. But anyway, I'm thrilled because Philon's a guy we know well. How about this? Even if Mark Sears returns by signing Philon, Alabama has doubled the number of in-state players on the roster from 1 to 2. And that's a bigger deal, when they're both in the starting lineup and they're announcing Coleman and they say, hey, from Muscle Shoals, Mark Sears, from Mobile, Labaron Philon. So I'm really excited about it. And for so long, I wrote it off because I didn't think Philon would end up at Alabama. First, there were times I thought Philon wouldn't choose Alabama. And then there were times I thought Alabama wouldn't choose Philon. Ends up last minute, it works out.
I do some other shows here in Ellick City, and most of the people I do shows with are Auburn fans. And when Philon originally committed to Auburn, we were talking about it on the show, and I said, I love Darius. I love Labaron Philon. I love him. I want him on my team. But at the time, I don't think the coaches were as sold. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't want him. It means they wanted to see a little more.
They wanted to see more.
And my Auburn friends were like, you're out of your mind. You're just jealous. And I said, I am jealous because I'm letting you know I want him on the team. I'm telling you, I don't think at the time our coaches were ready to accept it. Well, I mean, he went to Link Academy in Missouri and absolutely tore it up. I mean, he was awesome. All you got to do is go check out a highlight. I mean, and he played against Sherrill and Reed in one game, and he did incredibly well. In fact, they were down most of the game, and he led them for a comeback to win. So I'm a huge fan. He's bigger than you think. When I thought Labaron Philon, I was thinking, initially I was thinking sort of JD Davison side. He's bigger than that. He's bigger than that.
And longer. Yep.
Yeah. Now it is interesting because now Alabama has signed or will sign Labaron Philon, and they bring in Aiden Holloway. They have Mark Sears potentially coming back, and Chris Youngblood, and Latrell Wrightsell, and I mean it's a lot of guards, and I think now this roster is going to have 13 people on it, and we'll talk about in the second segment about a potential another big man. But I think this roster is going to have 13 people on it that we all believe, hey, they can all play, but there's only so many minutes. It's going to be interesting, you almost sometimes, because here's the news that everybody probably knows, but nobody's probably said. We're going to be going through a massive roster overhaul next year, because there will be transfers. There will be people like Grant Nelson, and if Sears comes back, they're gone. I mean, they're 100% gone this time. They can't come back. So Wrightsell, I guess, couldn't come back. They're going to be a serious.
There may be guys going to the NBA. Could be guys going to the NBA that have eligibility. I saw somebody say, once it became apparent, hey, we might have 13, when you add Philon and one of these big centers that we'll talk about shortly and Mark Sears, that's 13. And it's 13 really, really good players. And somebody said, yeah, good luck keeping that roster together. I just said, welcome to 2024. I mean, you can't keep any roster together. There are no rosters that are kept together. That is a thing of the past. It's almost a dinosaur. Yes, I agree 1,000,000%. Alabama will have a hard time keeping that roster together, just like they couldn't keep this roster together. And some players they fought to keep, and most they didn't. But it's still it's just 2024. Again, when I say 13 out, 13 in, as being kind of the new roster management, reality, it's not far off. It's an exaggeration, but it's not far off when I say 13 out, 13 in, meaning that the 13 players in the roster are gone. You got to bring in 13 new players every year. It is an exaggeration, but it's not far off. So yeah, it'll be very difficult to keep this roster together, but that's fine. Just pieces of this roster would be really good the following year. It would be the greatest roster in Alabama history. It would be one of the great rosters in SEC history, and fine if you want to exclude, especially if you exclude Kentucky from that. But hey, I think this roster 1 to 13 would stack up pretty good against a lot of Kentucky's rosters. Really, I mean, it would be, it's heady times. It's the golden age of Alabama basketball, as highlighted by this roster. What Alabama team, Luke, goes to the Final Four and gets better?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I would argue, that it's better. Now, it doesn't mean that, hey, headed back to the Final Four could mean that, but anything can happen early in the tournament.
Depends on your draw. It depends on a lot of things, but
just playing well when you need it. And I'm not going to make fun of Auburn all year for losing to Yale, because what happens if we make fun of Auburn losing to Yale is us going into the tournament with Final Four expectations and losing in the first round. It happens to great teams all the time. It's not like that's weird. It's just basketball reality.
All right, Jimmy, we're going to do something different here. I've texted you the live read for Monopoly Go because my voice is out. I'm going to let you read it, and I cannot wait to see these results.
This is my first one, huh? All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new plan pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. That sounds like, wow,
Sounds cruel.
that's a real criminal enterprise. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you want or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on.
That was very well done by you.
Well, I mean, particularly with no dress rehearsal. There was no dress rehearsal. It's matter. I was reading as we were going there. There
was no warning.
That was a curveball. No, there was no warning. And boy, good text there.
Good
texting. Good copying and pasting text there.
Yeah,
hey, I'm excited. You know, I'm looking into it. This is going to be downloaded. I'm checking this
Texting
out.
Or Monopoly Go?
Both. Me and Nick Saban are learning to text today, and then I'm going to learn Monopoly Go.
Okay. So kind of interesting. Another big man has popped up on the radar. This one's from Kentucky. I'll let you pronounce his name. He's a 7-footer. He averages about 4 and 4. He's not going to be, he's not coming in to be the main scorer. He is coming in to Charles Bediako this mother. He is coming in to protect the rim, to give as much defense on the interior as we can, set some nice screens, and get rebounds. That's what he's coming in to do. And that's fine. And in fact, God bless him if it's him. He has been crystal ball to Alabama, which makes me think Cliff O'Murray is who somebody sent me the pronunciation. I think I'm saying that right. Doesn't matter. You know who I mean, the guy from Rutgers who's there, I think maybe still right now. Yep. And, it makes me think we're probably not getting Cliff and getting this other guy. I can tell you this much. Ain't no way we're getting them both. Ain't no way.
Well, we're not getting them both. I don't think there'd be room for both. I think the question here about Cliff O'Murray and actually there's an easy way to pronounce Kingsley from Kentucky. I think he goes by Ugo, which is a short pronunciation of his first name, which is something longer. But Ugo Kingsley from Kentucky, or actually from Nigeria by way of Kentucky. I think it's a situation, Luke, where there's only room for one because Sears would make your 13th guy. Sears is there. So you're not going to squeeze Sears out. So you're only taking one or the other. Cliff O'Murray from Rutgers is he's visiting Alabama, and Alabama would very much like to have him, but his recruitment is just so uncertain. There's no certainty there. You can't put all your eggs in the Cliff basket when you're uncertain. You're recruiting him, you want him, but you can't put all your eggs in that basket because Alabama really needs a big guy. So Nate here is just trying to keep all the bases covered, and I think it's safe to say or fair to say there's a good chance Alabama ends up with one or the other. What we don't know is this a first to commit situation? Maybe it's just a first to commit. But Cliff is on campus. Ugo hasn't yet. A couple things to keep in mind here. Ugo is in the draft process. It may not come out because Luke already mentioned Bediako. Bediako is the right comp here for Ugo. Ugo's a lot like Charles Bediako. Real similar player defensively. Maybe a little limited offensively. That's kind of a project, is Ugo getting better offensively. But let me tell you, Bediako went through the process last year, and the NBA is like, hey, we've got a spot for you, at least developmentally. If you put all the eggs in the Ugo basket, you might end up in the same spot as you did a year ago with Bediako and the kids staying in the draft. So the situation with Ugo is a little uncertain. The situation with Cliff is uncertain. Obviously, he's not in the draft process, but he's heavily considering Georgetown, heavily considering Kansas State, may visit North Carolina after he leaves Alabama. So I think what this is just Nate is casting a wide net. It's Nate saying, hey, I want a 7-footer. I need a 7-footer here. And I'm going to cast a wide net. And and hope that I can get at least one of them on board. Cliff is more advanced. He's more of a all-around player, as good on offense as he is on defense. Ugo, more of a Bediako type defensive specialist that's kind of learning offensive post moves, but you're still bringing him in for the same reason, to be a rim protector and block shots. That dude, if you say, based on how many minutes he's playing at Kentucky and you extrapolate that into 40 minutes, that dude's blocking over 5 shots a game at Kentucky. So a great shot blocker and a rim protector, exactly what Alabama needs. Cliff's a little bit more, he's got moves in the post while also bringing you that same defensive presence.
I could make a good argument that even though I think Cliff is the better player, Ugo may be the better fit just for chemistry purposes in terms of, people keeping their head in the game for the number of shots they need. Mark Sears is a guy who's got to get shots. Darian Reed's going to be a dude who's got to get shots. Reitzel's got to get shots. Aiden Holloway's got to get shots. He got a lot of shots at Auburn. So you start saying, okay, well, who's not getting? Grant Nelson, who we'll talk about in a second, got to get shots. So who's not getting shots? The other dudes. And so you got to have somebody that doesn't check out when they don't get shots. And so Grant Nelson, Jimmy, there's been no announcement, no nothing, but I think that's good for Alabama. I feel very confident now he's coming back.
That's right. No announcement is actually good. No news is good news. You had to enter, if you're going to enter the NBA process, you had to do that by Saturday at midnight. I think we would know if Grant had done that, especially by now when we're recording this, roughly midday Monday, or almost, about lunchish Monday. So Grant is likely not entered the NBA. He still has time to enter the portal, but you're running out of time to do that. I think the deadline for that might be Wednesday. So Grant is expected to return to Alabama. BOL has been saying this and has been kind of adamant about that for a while, which is just superb news. The thing with Grant is, can he get healthy, and can we see the Grant that we saw in the NCAA tournament for 30 regular season games, next season? But boy, what a player! What a big deal it is for Grant Nelson to come back. I think if Alabama adds one of these 7-footers, it's going to make Grant a better player. You're taking a lot of the duties off of his plate that I think sort of weighed him down a year ago, and he can play he doesn't have to play all his minutes directly under the hoop like he had to a year ago. If you add these 7-footers or a 7-footer, I just think it's huge. Not to mention that, what a great kid. One thing I like about Grant, Luke, is I think it's so cool that here's a guy that played for 3 years at North Dakota State that has to be loving Alabama. It really is a great place to play sports, where you have the fans, a lot show up for even the midweek games. It's high profile. You get to the Final Four. You play for Nate Oates. You're here at a time when Alabama basketball is a big a deal as it's ever been. And I think Grant, like Sears, is like, why would I want to leave here? And I make money. On top of all of it, I make money. It's just a great time to be a basketball player at Alabama. And Grant in no hurry to leave. He could have entered the draft process. He could have gotten the portal and be honest, probably made more money, because when you're a free agent, you're up for auction, you could probably cash in. But here's Grant Nelson saying, I love it here. Why would I want to leave? So, we'll probably hear something official from Grant at some point. But if he didn't enter the NBA process, and again, we're running out of time with the portal, I think BOL has been on top of this from the start about Grant Nelson returning to Alabama.
Jimmy, I just texted you again. I'm going to let you read about FanDuel, and I'll take Gametime right after that.
All right. So I do FanDuel and you do Gametime? Oh, fun. All right. I got a text from Luke about FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Another masterpiece.
Man,
Now, Game Time.
Game
You want to
time.
go check out Game Time? It's awesome. Look, I love it. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it so much my voice is gone. That's how much I talk about Game Time because I love it and I use it all the time for NBA, for college football, for college basketball, for NFL, for World Series, done all that. You can get these last minute deals, which is what I really love. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. There's also flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. That is amazing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That is LOCKEDONCollege as your code. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, so little football talk here to wind up the show. There is a new football transfer to watch, a linebacker from South Alabama. This is a guy that I thought at least had some ties to Alabama last year about potentially getting in the portal, if I remember right, Khalil Jacobs. Right. I know he's visiting Auburn tomorrow, and then he's going to go to Missouri. And then he's going to be in Alabama Saturday, which I like. Alabama getting the last visit, assuming they do actually want him. And the fact that South Alabama's his former head coach, Kane Womack, is at Alabama now. You have to feel like that is a positive thing. And it does sound like Alabama does want him. And look, he seems like a very productive kid. And South Alabama is no slouch of a program. I mean, they're not the SEC, let's be real. But, right now it feels like there are some things the staff wants to do to beef up some depth. And my God, with this new playoff system, with the schedule Alabama has this year, you better have you up some depth.
Yeah, I think this is first and foremost about the 2024 team. It would be depth. And about the 2025 team, he would be an excellent candidate to be a starter at inside linebacker. This is a really good player. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's coming from South Alabama. This is a good player. By the way, South Alabama's produced a handful of NFL players. It's not like, South's got some good football players here and there. This kid's probably the best player on their team for this upcoming year. And he wants to see how he would do in a bigger pond is really what the situation here is. Now, Alabama's set at inside linebacker this fall, of course, with Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson. But the depth behind them is completely unproven and in most cases young. And then you also have Justin Jefferson, who's kind of the third inside linebacker right now. And he would kind of be Khalil Jacobs' competition. I think Khalil would be in competition with Justin Jefferson for being the third inside linebacker. But Jefferson's a senior. And Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell are very likely moving on to the NFL after this year. So it would really be about a 2025 if you bring in Khalil Jacobs, who does have 2 years of eligibility left. More so than 2024, but he could help us in 2024 off the bench and special teams. This is a tremendous player. His highlight tape, man, if you want to entertain yourself, Google Khalil Jacobs, South Alabama highlights. You will want him. You will want him on your football team if you watch that. Tremendous athlete, rangy, fast. I don't know what he runs on the clock. I just know he plays fast. He's also very physical. He's really good at attacking the quarterback from the off-ball linebacker position. And, of course, his experience playing in Kane Womack's defense, he can help teach the defense to the other players. So it would actually be a big pickup. The funny thing is, as far as reception from the fans, when this name first came up, there was a lot of meh to this. But now that he's got an offer from Auburn and Missouri, now it's like, oh, don't lose him. Because those, to be honest, I mean, he would play quicker at those places. because those places don't have Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell at inside linebacker. And this kid is an SEC player. That's what people don't get. Maybe he's not ranked really high in the portal, or he's coming from South Alabama. He wasn't even really a full-time starter as a young player there. But check him out. This is an SEC football player.
I would certainly like to have him. I feel like the staff wants him, and so I'm on board. I mean, it's sort of like Nate Oates dealing with all these guards. A lot of people are saying, how's this going to work? Well, that's why Nate Oates gets paid a lot of money, and that's why he's awesome. So same reason Nick Saban didn't recruit some dudes that we thought he should recruit at times, or signed a dude we didn't think he should sign. By the way, shout out to Nick Saban. I don't think we mentioned this yesterday. With Will Reichard being drafted, that meant that Nick Saban had at least one player drafted from every single position available. Long snapper, punter, kicker, whatever. Of course, quarterback, running back, all that. But I'm talking about left guard, right guard, tight end, everything. Hit everything. And that's pretty doggone amazing. Also want to tell Billy Todd Dawson, you have won this ashtray. And he asked that you and I sign it, right? And I was like, well, Jimmy and I aren't together. So I signed it for him. I feel weird, but he said, would you sign it? And so I did. Feel free
if I grant you permission, it's not forgery.
Yeah.
You have my permission.
Feel free to grind it off. I don't care. I mean,
Thanks for entering, Billy Todd.
Yeah, and we do appreciate you. And then Ronnie Jones won the scarf.
Hey, way to go, Ronnie.
So I do have Billy Todd's address, I think. I don't have Ronnie Jones. So, Ronnie, if you're listening, you need to, send me your address somehow. But, if somebody wants one of the Alabama ashtrays, let me know. I mean, I can sell them really inexpensively. So if somebody wants one, I can get some more run. They wouldn't be super expensive, but they're cool. I mean, like these little Alabama, and I just found them in our pattern collection. They're really cool. You can put coins or game tickets, or you don't have to smoke, but if you want to smoke, go for it. Who am I to?
Yeah, I hear good things.
I say, hey, smoking's going to come back around here.
I hear good
and
things.
There's nothing like a cool cigarette to ease my scratchy throat right now.
Yeah, you sound like it. You sound like an experienced smoker.
I do.
Like Kramer on Seinfeld.
Look away, I'm hideous. All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast.
Like a catcher's mitt. That's what they said.
We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.